Grab some popcorn and a favorite chair. The love of movies is why we're here. Press play and don't delay. Let's Phil be our guide to a cinematic day. Phil at the movies, through the silver screen to his podcast stream. Phil's covering every movie dream. Phil at the movies. Phil at the movies.
Masterpiece. This is a word that is used quite a lot in film analysis, movie reviews, criticism, etc. It is a word that sadly loses its relevance and its effectiveness when reviewing a film, particularly a bold and triumphant film. It is a word that is casually passed around in the same vernacular as failure or disappointment. The way people tend to overuse this word, this phrase, when describing a movie almost dilutes it to the point where it's just another word. I've seen people declare the film Minecraft a masterpiece. Now, I have not seen Minecraft. I have no intention of seeing Minecraft. But again, people have used that word to describe it, just as they have used the word failure, disappointment, abomination. Though the last one does, I think, describe a certain type of film when it does cross that threshold of just utter disgrace and failure. But we'll put that aside for the time being. The word masterpiece is so overused that I almost hesitate using it for today's episode. But I'm going to use it because even though I could craft a creative phrase, or I could pull out the trusty thesaurus, or all of my creative adjectives on the Rolodex, so to speak, I think sometimes the best word, the best phrase, is the one that is the simplest and can convey the message, particularly when there is true thought and passion behind that statement. Today, I am going to be talking with you about the film Sinners. This is the new movie from director Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am calling this film not only a masterpiece, but I am calling this the movie of the year. All right, everybody, now that I have set the stage, welcome back to yet another episode of Phil at the Movies. I'm your host, Phil Walsh, and you are listening to show number 160 of this ongoing podcast that is always for the love of movies. If I were recording myself for this episode, there will be a YouTube review, but I'm setting that aside for the time because I generally like the podcast episodes to be more or less unfiltered, no pun intended, and allow for kind of almost a stream of consciousness reaction. I think that's more helpful and more useful in this format than just sort of confining things to a short 5-6 minute review for a video format. So here you're going to get my unfiltered, again, well, maybe this time pun was intended, but my unfiltered reaction and thoughts to this film. Now, if I were, though, recording myself, just to circle back, you would see, based on my facial expressions, based on my body language right now, that I am ready to jump out of the seat and run around the office with the microphone in hand and scream at the top of my lungs in the best way possible, a triumphant yell, if you will, about this film. Sinners, as I teed off at the beginning, is a masterpiece of a movie. And moreover, for me, at this particular point in time, and I know we're looking here, it's April 17th when I am recording this episode. It's only April. We still have many months to go of 2025. But right now, I can comfortably and confidently say that Sinners is the movie of the year for me. That is right. I will say it again. Sinners is the movie of the year. Exclamation point. Underline it. Declare it on a billboard. I friggin' loved this movie. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I think part of why I loved it so much, one, it is a horror film. And as I have said time and again on this show, I am a huge fan of the genre. I would even go so far to say it is my favorite of all the movie genres, because there is so much you can do both within and around the context of it. Here we have not just a run-of-the-mill horror film, but we have a supernatural one. And further, you have one set as a period piece. So you really are working on all cylinders here to create the kind of film that not only stands out, but stands above a lot of the others in its particular crowd and genre. Sinners is bold. It is impeccably cool. There is a charming yet chilling atmosphere to it that, as I said, will leave you speechless, utterly speechless. Now, I will not make this a spoiler review because, as I said, the movie opens Friday the 18th. I'm recording this on Thursday night, and the movie at this point has only been out for a few hours with early advanced screenings. So I want to savor your experience for this particular film, because not only is this film worth your time in watching, this film deserves and frankly needs to be seen on the big screen, and yes, the biggest screen imaginable. If you were able to see it in IMAX, I would tell you to run, not walk, to your local theater. Because what Ryan Coogler is doing in this film is utilizing all the tools he has as a filmmaker to not only tell a gripping and thrilling and satisfying story, but he's also using the tools of an ace filmmaker to create the best possible canvas on which to tell this story. It's one thing to have some dramatics and flair. It's another to utilize the camera to bring us into this world and make us a part of the story and journey that unfolds. And that is what I felt happened during my nearly 2.5-hour journey and experience with this film. I felt in the best possible way that this movie was like a religious experience. And given the religious subtext that exists within this film, I think that comparison is quite appropriate. Now, let me set the stage a bit more. Bear with me for just a moment or two. Here is the premise of the film. Two twin brothers, played perfectly by Michael B. Jordan, are trying to leave their troubled lives behind and return to their hometown in the Deep South to start again. They're in the process of opening up their own club, and while they have high hopes and ambition and are wealthy beyond explanation, they discover that there is trouble in paradise. For not only has their past followed them back home, but there is a greater evil waiting for them when they return. Now, this evil that they are going to confront is the devil himself. Vampires. Pure vampires. Evil incarnate is walking amongst them, and they are prime targets. For the film is an allegory of temptation and faith. The devil lurks in the background, waiting for the right moment to strike. The two brothers, Smoke and Stack, as they are nicknamed, have returned home to Mississippi, where their plan, after stealing untold amounts of money from various gangs while they were in Chicago, planned to open up a juke bar in Mississippi, along with their cousin Sammy, who was the son of a local preacher. Sammy is an aspiring blues player and a gifted guitarist. Things are set for a perfect night as the brothers open up their juke bar, reuniting with old friends and lovers for what should be a night of celebration and the beginning of a successful livelihood. However, there is trouble in paradise. While things are going well at the juke bar, evil creeps towards them. A silent stalker, drawn by the music, drawn by the blues ballads. It is soon apparent to the brothers and all of their guests that they are marked by 3 roaming vampires who not only intend to make them pay for their sins, but intend to kill every last one of them. All right, so your blood may be running cold right now. You might feel a chill running up and down your spine. This is a vampire film that both feels familiar and fresh. And I think it is a testament to what Coogler is able to do with the story. He incorporates all of the traditional elements and trappings, the fact that a vampire has to be invited into a home, the wooden stakes, the garlic, the silver, the religious subtext, all of that is familiar territory with vampires. But yet he's also able to weave in local legends and folk tales to create something that feels entirely new and compelling. And I think the added musical element to this film, which, I have to just give a major shout out to the composer Ludwig Göransson, who most recently won an Oscar for his score in Oppenheimer. Here, music is more than just background noise. Music is an integral part of the movie's story and soul. And the fact that you have this sort of connection, if you will, the blurring of lines between dead and the undead, living and those who have passed, all of that tied to the musical elements. And in the case of Sammy, Smoke and Stack's cousin, who is this aspiring blues player, the fact that that is sort of acting as the conduit, if you will, for all of the vampire and energy that is coursing throughout this night of unholy hell really elevates it into more than just your standard vampire flair. I mean, this film would have been fascinating in its own right, given the fact that it's set in 1932. You have the setting, which is not a sort of a gothic structure or windswept plains, but the fact that it's in the heart of Mississippi. puts it in an entirely new focus and context. You have a lot of the racial elements present in the story, the existence of the Ku Klux Klan. All of that, again, just sort of enhances the threat and terror of this film. So you're sort of working on two levels, if you will, with both the sort of the real world horrors matched with that of the underworld or the undead horrors. Tying that all together with the component of music makes for such a fascinating story that it grips you. It's like a perfect roller coaster. You're locked in from the beginning all the way to the end, and the movie keeps innovating itself. It keeps unfolding and interjecting new twists and turns. So just when you think things are going to go one way, boom, something else happens. And the cast in this movie is phenomenal. I mean, Michael B. Jordan, he is a force in this movie. The fact that he is playing dual roles is a testament, and it never feels like it is a trick or even a gimmick. It really does feel like we are watching two distinct performances. The same way I felt about Robert Pattinson in Mickey 17, the same applies here. I feel like I am watching two different performances, literally smoke and stack in this movie. And again, that just sort of enhances the overall enjoyment of it. The real standout of this movie is the character of Sammy, their young cousin, played by newcomer Miles Catton, and he's incredible in this movie, and he injects a needed soul and purpose to this story and kind of acts as a mirror reflection of both of these brothers, and somebody who is charting his own course come hell or high water. Absolutely blown away by his performance. And then tying off the trio, if you will, is Haley Steinfeld, who plays Mary, an old lover in the film, and she is incredible. I can say it because it is part of the trailers. She does become a vampire, and it is utterly terrifying and both sexy at the same time. And that's a word that I would describe also for this film. It is a sexy movie, not in a way that sort of it's in your face or over the top, but just in terms of the way the story develops and it unfolds. It takes on quite an erotic tone at points, which I was not expecting, but kind of enhances the fact that this is truly a heart and soul type of situation where we're not only dealing with matters of both of the heart, but we're dealing with matters of the soul. And then you throw in the musical undercues and the rhythms of the blues. It just, oh my, it's sexy. It is an absolutely sexy experience. And that is not something that you generally would think of when you're talking about a horror film. Not saying it doesn't happen, but certainly when you're doing it, no pun intended, with vampires, that's something else entirely. And a lot of times, vampires certainly have erotic undertones, but it can almost come off as comical or over the top. Here, it felt innovative, it felt fresh, and pushes the boundaries to such a way where it does feel like we're tapping into something new and different, but yet familiar at the same time. I was dazzled by this film. There was a few moments particularly, and I won't spoil them, but they are WTF moments. I mean, I felt myself jumping in the seat, reacting to a number of scenes. There is a lot of suspense and tension in this film, and it's set up in a way where it starts off like everything is normal. I mean, it begins with an opening, and then it flashes back. But much of the film is presented in a very safe, comfortable, almost, sunny, optimistic tone where you think everything is going to go in a certain way. And then when it turns, it really turns. And it's chilling, it's frightening, but yet it is also exciting. It's a movie that's working on multiple levels and hitting all of those right sweet spots. To say nothing of the fact that it is just a visually stunning and arresting piece of cinema where you just can't help but watch the images unfold on screen. There's a particular moment where they're playing some music at the juke bar, and it's this wonderfully interwoven exchange of sort of past, future, and present events all unfolding under the rooftop of this juke bar. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's like a moving painting come to life, and you're just in awe of what is happening. That's what I mean by the film is able to not only deliver on the essential elements for a horror film, but then kind of raises the stakes by going above and beyond. And that was something I wasn't expecting from the trailers, but the musical aspects to this film are so ingrained in a part of the story that you can't help but be carried away by the scope and grandeur of it. I mean, there were moments in the film where I was both tapping my shoes to the rhythm of the music, while at the same time sort of reeling back in horror at what was happening on screen. It was a wonderful juxtaposition between horror and drama, music, light comedy, and just overall suspense. I mean, Ryan Coogler is a certified ace with this film. Absolute dazzling filmmaker, and some of the best visual cues that I have seen in a horror film, particularly utilizing vampires. As I said, he found a way to make them feel both relevant and familiar while also pushing the boundaries. And I think it really goes back to the musical elements that really tie this together in a way that is both frightening and yet also sexy and appealing. I mean, that's a delicate balance, and he's able to work it in a way where you can't help but just applaud by what is happening. The cast is fantastic. The music is soaring and gripping. The cinematography is utterly dazzling. This was a perfect film for me. It was a film that left me in awe of what I had watched. It left me applauding. Literally, my theater broke out in applause at the end of the film. I mean, right then and there, that kind of tells you this is something special. This is not just another run-of-the-mill, see it on a Tuesday kind of film. This is something bold and different, and yet it's a crowd pleaser. And that's a tough balance to make, but you just sort of know. And people always say, well, how do you know this film is a masterpiece? It's just sort of, you have that reaction. It's in the gut. And I felt like the movie just sort of, like a vampire, it just sort of lunged onto me, and it didn't let go. And I didn't want to let it go. I mean, parse that out and figure that out. That's a whole other discussion. But in all seriousness, this is, I think, the film to beat for me. Right now, I am putting it as my number one of the year. I think it will be very difficult to see another film eclipse it. So bookmark that statement right there. But another thing, and this is where I will close on, what I think really strikes a chord with me with this particular film is that it is an entirely original creation. It is not based on an existing franchise. It's not based on a book. It's not part of an IP. This was an original idea. It was a passion project by director Ryan Coogler. He wrote the film as well as directed it, and that comes across on screen. I love this movie, capital Love. I love Sinners. Proud to be a sinner. After seeing this film, sign me up. It is bold, it's provocative, it's sexy, it's chilling, it's frightening, it's rhythmic, and it is cool. I think that is the biggest takeaway. It is such a cool film. Cool not just in terms of the characters and the story, but the images you're watching on screen. This is why. Sinners is why I love horror films. Sinners proves why horror is the best genre and the most innovative, because you can do so much within the confines of just telling a scary movie. You can tell a story about racism. You can tell a story about brotherhood. You can tell a story about the blues and throw in some vampires, all for good measure. Ryan Coogler is showing how it is done. This is the movie of the year for me. I have a feeling I am going to be saying that over and over again. We're all sinners now, and I'm damn proud to be one. All right, everybody, that does it for me today. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll be back next week where we'll do this all over again for the love of movies.
Feels covering every movie dream. Feel at the movies makes every